There are two topics I will discuss in this module: graph layout and documentation. Let's start with graph layout. You'll notice I have a finished version of the demonstration graph I just built. In this version, I went ahead and implemented some best practices in graph layout. The first thing you'll want to consider with your graphs is a left to right flow, similar to if it were simply a flowchart. This is important when you need to share your graph and talk through your process. Using the Lavastorm analytic methodology can help guide you in the flow. Even if you don't initially build this way, reorganize and clean up your graph prior to sharing it with others. You may also want to use bend points when cleaning up your graphs. They make it easy to see how the nodes are connected and joined. Label your nodes. Choose names that will easily identify what the node is trying to accomplish. At a minimum, your node should be named appropriately. Nodes that still have the node name like filter doesn't give insight as to what rules are being applied to that node. Group your inputs. It may be appropriate to organize your inputs by primary, secondary, and reference data. You may wish to use boxes to label the different types, as I have done on my graph. Use boxes. Boxes can be used to create section headings, for example, the methodology sections, or to draw attention to a particular part of your graph. Consider using composites. It is often appropriate to consolidate parts of your graph into composite nodes. For example, applying one business rule required 6 nodes. Therefore, turning them into a single composite can help clean up the graph and identify that particular step in the analysis. This becomes especially useful when creating large graphs. Collaboration. While you are building a graph, it is recommended to collaborate with the person who supplied the data as well as the business requirements. By taking an hour out of your day to sit in a room together and build the graph, you can save lots of time between constant back and forth communication, email, or instant messenger.
Lavastorm Explorer. Lavastorm Explorer is the web UI that allows you to easily share read-only graphs. As such, you need to think about how to design your graphs so that they are easily understood by whomever you are sharing the graph with. Perhaps using more composites will help eliminate confusion on the amount of nodes that was used to perform a single task. Boxes might help to highlight the parts of the graph that are important to the person you are sharing the graph with. Keeping the end person in mind while you're building your graphs will help ensure they can understand your process and eliminate the amount of questions they may ask.
So those are some of the things you can do for graph layout. Now, let's take a look at documentation. Documentation throughout a graph is essential in providing a clear understanding to anyone using the graph, including you. This is an important part of knowledge sharing and preparing for any eventual handover or cross-skilling. Enabling reusability and knowledge share of a graph can be easily achieved via detailed and quality documentation. Again, with documentation, you'll want to start by naming your nodes appropriately. Also, use the Documentation tab in the Nodes Editor window. This can help identify exactly what the node is designed to do and provide hover text that someone you share the graph with can easily access. Simply enter a description in the Developer field. This becomes a hover text that anyone can use to view your description. Next, you may want to name your input and output pins. This becomes particularly important when a data pin is linked to a composite node. This way, when you are in the composite node, you know which data the input and output pin is connected to. Use boxes as labels, as talked about in the graph design topic. It is also recommended to include a box at the top of your graph that becomes the project header for your graph. Included in that box, in the form of hover text, can be details such as name, high-level project description, relevant file directories, and stakeholders. Next, create parameters. Parameters can make sharing your graphs easy and more accessible. Within composites, include a description of what is contained within the composite node. When using BrainScript, include comments in the BrainScript text, particularly if you have complex logic or are creating variables. Remember, to create a comment, simply add a hashtag before the line of text. Anything after that hashtag becomes a comment.
Lavastorm Explorer. Lavastorm Explorer is the web UI that allows you to easily share read-only graphs. As such, you need to think about how to design your graphs so that they are easily understood by whomever you are sharing the graph with. Using descriptive node names and hover text can quickly show the person you are sharing the graph with exactly what you did at that step of the process. Keeping the end person in mind while building your graph will help ensure they can understand your process and eliminate the amount of questions they may ask.
And these are some best practices you can use in building a clear and concise graph.